any prior midterm election ever. Florida appears to be no exception. The Miami Herald now reporting that Florida is on pace to set a new record for turnout in that state in a non-presidential election year. Joining us now for the interview is Tallahassee Mayor and Democratic candidate for governor, Andrew Gillum. Mayor Gillum, thank you very much for being with us. I know this is an incredibly busy time.
Thank you so much for having me here with you this evening.
So, Mr. Mayor, you are here at an exciting time, electorally speaking. I'm sure you're not going to sleep much in the next 8 days. But
not at all.
This is also a very difficult time for the country, and you are in a contest to become the leader and the head of the state government in one of the most populous states in the country. I just want to ask you, as you weigh the prospect of ascending to that office, this massacre in Pittsburgh this weekend was the worst attack ever on the American Jewish community. The bombing campaign targeting prominent Democrats only seems to have ended last week with the arrest of a man in your state. This feels like more than just divisive times. How do you want to try to make things better in the state of Florida? Do you have insight into how your state could try to lead or try to at least heal at times like this?
Yeah, well, Rachel, I want to begin by at least expressing my deep regrets and honestly solidarity with the people of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, those 11 families that are undoubtedly grieving today and will continue to in the aftermath of what has been a senseless tragedy. I am also thankful that those bombs never reached their intended targets, never took innocent life. But the idea that people could be so worked up, so enraged by this moment, by this politics that we've created in this country, ought to be unnerving to all of us. Our president, instead of rising to the occasion, every opportunity that he gets to really show that he's a leader that can cut through, cut across, in the moments where the American people could use leadership the most, he repeatedly fails us. He spent his day today tweeting about me, tweeting at me, tweeting lies. Rather than working to tamp down the kind of derision and division that he has helped himself to stoke. My opponent here in Florida has done much of the same. I'll tell you, Rachel, what we focus on is trying to give voters a reason to go out and vote for something and not just against. I've tried to say to my opponent, listen, there's so much that we have different between us on the substance of the issues, on the policies. Why do we have to call names? Why do we have to go to the gutter of politics? Why do we have to divide each other based off the way we look, the religion we may hold, the language we may speak, or what country of origin we might be from? We're bigger than that. We're better than that. And I'm asking him to rise to the occasion. And unfortunately, he keeps going into the gutter with Mr. Trump. And I just think that our state and certainly our nation deserves better than that.
Because you raised it, I wanted to ask about some of the ways that the president has been personally going after you. He does seem a little bit fixated on your race, given that it's a statewide race and not a race that necessarily has national consequences, at least in terms of being a senator or somebody else who'd be in Congress. But the president said on Twitter, as usual, in Florida, there's a choice between a Harvard, Yale-educated man named Ron DeSantis, who has been a great congressman and will be a great governor, and a Dem who is a thief and who is mayor of poorly run Tallahassee, said to be one of the most corrupt cities in the country. Now, you responded to that by saying on Twitter there's a choice between having the courage to at the person, meaning directly respond to the person you are trash talking, or not. Real Donald Trump is howling because he's weak. Florida, go vote today. What do you mean by the? What do you mean by the accusation here that the president is weak and that's why he's howling?
Well, I mean, I didn't take me to point out that the president is weak, and he performs as all weak people do by bullying others. I mean, you're talking about the most powerful position in the free world, and the president of the United States takes time to badger me, to bully me on Twitter. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. The president needs to grow up. He needs to do his job. He needs to lead. This country could use leadership at this moment, and instead he's throwing insults across Twitter. What I would say to the president, number one, I lead a city that is among the fastest growing economies in the state of Florida. My crime rate in my city is at a 5-year low, on trajectory to be at a 20-year low, and we achieved that at the same time as arresting fewer people. I lead, again, a community that I'm extremely proud of. And I got to tell you, my mother and my grandmother raised somebody who is honest, who is forthright, who is direct. And I don't think the president is used to that kind of direct speak. He can dish it out, but he certainly can't take it. I want him to know that he's met his match right here in Florida.
You mentioned that the core of your strategy in terms of election night, 8 days from now, is that you want to give people something to vote for, not just something to vote against. One of the things that we have seen in Florida, like around the country, is a huge enthusiasm for early voting. As far as I can tell, latest numbers, nearly 3 million Florida residents have cast in-person early votes and absentee ballots thus far. That would be way above the pace, way above the pace, like more than double the pace from the last midterm election in 2014. But we're also seeing, in terms of partisan affiliation, that it looks like Republicans may have a slight edge in terms of the number of people by partisan affiliation who you were turning out. What do you make of the early voting enthusiasm that you're seeing and the partisan balance of those who are turning out?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm extremely encouraged by what we're seeing on the ground, Rachel. I mean, we're usually double digits behind in early vote and in absentee voting in my state at this juncture, this far out from Election Day. We're only, I think, something like 4 points behind Republicans right now. And I believe we're going to close that gap. Every day we get closer to Election Day, people are turning out. I mean, I've campaigned in parts of this state that haven't seen a Democratic nominee campaign in the final stretch of the election. We were in Putnam County. We were in St. Johns County. We had an outdoor crowd in St. Johns County, which went for Donald Trump by double digits, that stretched as far as the eye could see. There was such amazing enthusiasm. We campaigned in the villages. I'll be in Bay County in 2 days. We'll be in Polk County tomorrow. We're going to areas where they're not used to seeing us. And as I've said all along on the trail, I'm going to those places because I want them to know that I want to be their governor, too. You don't win the race for governor of the state of Florida by winning one county and losing another, picking up one and losing another. The one who wins is the one who gets one more vote. And that vote may come from anywhere throughout the length and the breadth of my state, which is why I'm willing to go there, even if it feels uncomfortable, and ask those voters for their support. As I said, we're trying to give voters something to go and vote for. Health care, paying teachers what they're worth, a clean environment. Mr. DeSantis, my opponent, wants to focus people on the color of my skin. And as I told him, the only color the people of this state care about is the blue-green algae flowing out of the east and the west side of this state due to the environmental degradation at the hands of his party. He doesn't want to talk about that, which is why he distracts with these kinds of antics. But we'll retire him on November 6th, and I'm looking forward to doing that and getting about the business of the people of my state.
Andrew Gillum, the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida, Democratic candidate for